Today, in the world of YouTube Riser and the devlog for November day 7th, we worked on cleaning some things up and adding a data spinner. Hey, hello, fellow Sublime fanatics. Oda Nerd here. Welcome to your Devember devlog for November day 7th. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what has happened. Now, by the time you are watching this, this has already been pushed up. In fact, I pushed it up before I even started recording this particular video. Now, what we did today was a little bit of a cleanup stuff. I did want to get into the whole idea of changing how things were caching. That got me looking into that thing I mentioned about wanting to clean up requests a little bit and how they work before we get into the caching. And that made me realize that one thing that we have wanted for a while was a data spinner so we can actually tell when requests are being made. So that's kind of where we put the focus for today. But we also had a few other changes here first. Incidentally speaking, first of all, the path that is used to store the stored credentials, this is an encrypted file here. I don't know why, for some reason, when I wrote this oh so long ago, I used packages path and then used a relative directory to get up into the cache folder. When there's a cache path API entry for getting you the cache path directly, it's been there for a long time. I don't know what I did there, but I fixed that. Also, while I was testing things, I noticed that I was consistently accidentally closing my YouTube views when I didn't mean to by using Control W instead of Shift Control W to close the window, which led me to creating key bindings for all of the three platforms that block the close key binding while you're inside of one of the YouTube views in one of the YouTube video windows, the ones that has the title, the body, and the tags in it, which you probably have seen if you looked in one of the devlog things. So, or sorry, in one of the live streams. So that is blocked there. You can still get at that command from the menu. That's a more deliberate action, unlikely to be done in error. And if you actually want to close one of these things, that would be a good way to do that. And then we actually did something else here, which is something that I tried to do on one of the other live streams earlier this week, but I sort of bobbled what it was I was trying to do. Now, the syntax for this was pretty simplistic before. Essentially, what this all boils down to here, we could go into it in more detail if you want to join one of the actual live streams, which is happening tomorrow on this very channel at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So, use the button down below, thumb, subscribe, share, ring the bell notification icon, blah, blah, blah. We all know about that. I can go into more detail about what this does there. But the gist of this change is that we had things working where time codes could appear inside of the body of the YouTube message, and then it would be underlined, and you could right click on it to view the video at that time code or copy a link at that time code. We want time codes to also work in the first line of the file, but the first line of the file had a special syntax associated with it to make it a slightly different color because the first line, the first parts of the description of a video are special. They appear above the fold before the read more. And I wanted to call that out visually so you can tell as you're typing what is going to be visualized up there. And that would be the first line in the buffer. And I had some trouble trying to work out in my head how the rules for this would actually work. And I had the right idea, but basically I was just idiotically putting the Metascope line that is right here in the wrong place while I was trying to do it, and that's why it didn't work. So I got that working here as well. And then if we actually move into the interesting bits of here, the main bit of work that we did today was here in the Busy Spinner class. So we did a couple of things here. Of course, we have the actual thing being implemented here. And here is a Busy Spinner class. Maybe we'll just go ahead and click that. I guess that really sort of shows us the same thing, doesn't it? The gist of this whole thing can be more or less summed up in this little bit of code. Now, Busy Spinner, that's just something that's going to appear in the status bar of the window while there's a lengthy operation happening. And you've seen this if you use package control, install package. Other packages do the same thing. There's just a couple little brackets and an equal sign that bounces back and forth between them. Some text to the left to tell you what's going on. This particular version here is something that I based on the one that I use in my override audit package. But in override audit, I didn't have the Cylon boop-de-boop. I had slashes that sort of spin around so it looks like an actual spinner. But I changed that here to be the other style because that seems to be what people are doing. And my original implementation of this in override audit, and you could look at the code for that on the GitHub page if you're interested in such a thing. the spinner was tied to an actual background thread because a lot of things in override audit spawn a background thread in order to do operations, and the spinner would just automatically stop when the thread stopped. Here, we actually have to specifically call start and stop the spinner, but taking some hints from someone in the Discord, I can't remember who it was, if it was Arwalls or Rafal or something along those one of those guys mentioned how they have a spinner. Might even have been Tom ways back. But in any case, a spinner that is a context manager, so that you can just you said like with busy spinner do this stuff, and then the spinner starts while it's running and automatically stops. I looked into how you do something like that because I've never done it before. And it turns out you just need a couple of lines. And again, we could go over what this actually does here, but the magic of this whole operation is using a consistent timeout that keeps refreshing itself to generate some text into the buffer. So that is fairly straightforward. And we moved on from there into actually implementing the busy spinner. And with that busy spinner done, this is the entirety of this whole change. You can see here the white space being what it is. The try is now inside the busy spinner instead of not being there at all. And we just say with busy spinner, with the name of the request, do this stuff. And that is all we have to do. This is inside of the handle request method, as we can see here. So this just automatically, this is what every request uses. And the text that you pass in here is the text that appears to the left of the spinner. So just as the first implementation of this, it uses whatever the request is. So we get to see something in the spinner that says channel details, and then the spinner, and then playlist contents, and then spinner, or video details, and then spinner. You can actually tell what it's doing now, which is absolutely fantastic. And then we went on to tweak that up a little bit because the name of that is actually not that great. So I made some changes here. This request class, which is basically just a simple dictionary wrapper class, it subclasses a dictionary. It's actually hashable, unlike regular dictionaries, because that's how the current caching mechanism works. And it has a couple of special keys in it, being name and handler, and then it can hold any other ones. I added its own special key reason, which is the reason why this request is being made. It defaults to being the name if you don't provide one, which is why this changed from request.reason to request.name. And then we had to modify some things in the core as well, because all of the commands that talk to the YouTube data thread essentially go through YouTube request, which does the work of making a request object with the appropriate things, and then telling the network manager to request it, which is what puts it into the thread so that the networking thread can see it. And then the callback gets called, this handler happens, this is the callback. And down here in the subclass here, we needed to modify this request method to take an extra argument. And we start adding in our request calls here in that particular one. And then the next commit is more of the same. So we can see very simple here, whenever the plugin is getting authorization, or for the very first time, it'll tell you it's logging in. It can tell you it's getting channel information, that it's getting uploaded videos, that it's logging you out, which technically isn't a network request, but it follows the pattern for everything. And then while we're getting video details, we can say we're getting the channel video, we're getting uploaded videos, we're getting video details. So we can actually see any sort of network operation that's happening, exactly how it's going on behind the scenes. And that is all that happened today. So we're going to continue on with stuff tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure what we want to tackle next, but we are going to be doing it in a live stream tomorrow, live here on the channel at 8 p.m. Pacific. So if you're interested in that, you want some more description on what actually happened with this stuff here, or how the whole package works, if you're interested in this, if it's the first devlog you're seeing, go ahead and jump into that video live stream. And we're going to be doing another one on Thursday as well. Until either of those, this is ODAT Nerd asking you to please have a sublime day.